What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today we're going over episode number 6 for BBCan11. We did have on the channel the digital daily recap for number 10. That is up there if you want to check that out. There was a lot of stuff that happens after this episode that we got on the dailies and all the things, including veto, replacement nominees, all that stuff, who is the main target, where votes are going. It was actually a really good digital daily, so make sure you check out that video on my channel. But let's talk about this episode, which was also a pretty good one overall. There wasn't much fluff involved in it. A lot of it was gameplay. We start off right off at the top with kind of the fallout of the JM eviction. Everyone's really feeling like, man, why did we evict JM? This was a bad decision. People, especially Kuzi here, talks about how it didn't feel right and it felt like it was pushed on them, and they didn't like that in the game, especially because it almost felt like it was one person's decision, aka Zach. And then Renee is even talking about how, like, the girls have to stick together now. We can't let the boys kind of take over like they did in that first week, and everybody has to really start, you know, waking up and playing this game. That gets us into the HOH competition, which was a good competition. We saw it start on the end of the episode. They had to grab these colored balls, run up the stairs, then they had to slide down these like carnival slides as they made baskets into these nets. Thing was, this competition had a lot of advantage with height. The taller you were, the longer wingspan you had to be able to reach up and get into these goals, the more advantage you would have in it. Yeah, there was some endurance mixed in there too, so the more trips you could take, the better. But it definitely seemed like the big advantage was, oh, how easy is it for you to get into the 30 basket than it is just getting it into the 5, which some of the other players had to do. And we actually have the scores that we can bring up here. So this is the full scoreboard. You can see Dan won HOH with 2335. Roberto came in second with 2050. And if you look there, Dan scored almost more points than Rob than a full Renee. Dan beat Rob almost by a full Renee. Wild. Absolutely wild that he got that much more than Roberto did. And then you can see the rest of the scores on there. Daniel C. really impressed me. There were multiple times where they kind of showed him during the competition just completely gassed out, but never gave up, kept pushing through the pain, putting up a very respectable score, coming in 6th place. Then you can see, you know, people like Kuzi, Nene, Vanessa, Claudia, Zach, all the way down in 11, barely scoring more points than Anika and Renee, scoring less points than Claudia, who is like at best 5 foot. Like, he's got a good 2 feet on her, I would imagine. Somehow Zach comes all the way down in 11th place. This feels like an obvious throw, which I feel like most of the house was like, okay, buddy, you threw this competition. Nobody came out and right out said it. We did get a little bit on the dailies where Zach had alluded to the queen, which I believe refers to Kuzi, who was a pageant queen. I think that's who they said that he was referring to. Asked whether he threw the competition or not, and I can see why, because that is not a good score from Zach. Very interesting. Lots of emotions took place after this competition. Rob was very emotional, you know, just he said he was holding back a lot of those emotions during the competition, and they all just kind of flooded out of him once it was over. Hope was very upset as well. One, because he kind of believes that Dan doesn't like him, so we'll probably end up on the block anyway. But also, he feels like he let people down by not winning HOH. And he talks about how He felt bad that JM left, and he felt like he really wanted to win this for him and also kind of prove his worth. And he just really puts a lot of value in competitions in this game, which you don't have to. Competitions aren't everything. In fact, early in the season, competitions are not good for you to win. It kind of flips about halfway through the game. You want to be very social in the beginning of the game, and then at the end of the game, that's when you want to win your competitions because that's when you need the power the most. Early in the game, if you're winning power, you're showing your cards too much, and it could be very much detrimental. So he's kind of got it flipped here. You want to be more social in the beginning, but that's how Hope's feeling. So we then get Zach, Ty, and Santina in the storage room, which this is another thing where it gets a little confusing with the dailies and the episodes because we're not getting all the feeds. It feels like we're missing pieces. So when we first saw the episodes, it seemed like there was a bit of a flirt showmance thing building with Rob and Santina. And we were like, okay, that's interesting. Then we got our first daily and it felt like the opposite. It was like, okay, what did we miss? Because now at this point, it feels like Rob and Santina don't trust each other anymore. And in fact, not only do they not trust each other, it feels like they don't even want to be in the same room with each other. So we were kind of confused on like what their real relationship was. Then we actually had gotten information from good old John Michael, JM himself, who was in there. And he actually says they were very close. They were kind of like tied to the hip at all times. So that is kind of a real thing. Then here you see Zach telling Ty and Santina that he wants to push for Rob to be the target because he wants, again, feels great with Dan as HOH. He's like, oh, Dan won HOH? He's like my number one. Well, he thinks I'm his number one. So they want to push Rob as a target, and Santina just kind of goes on board with it. She's like, oh yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm not here for a showmance. So where does Santina really stand? It gets a little confusing because then if you watch the digital dailies from even just yesterday, it seemed like she wasn't on board with getting Rob out. So it gets very confusing here on what's actually going on. And that's kind of a thing that's a little interesting here. It makes this season a much different experience as we watch. It's actually much closer to what I imagine it would be like in the house, where you're only getting bits and pieces of information, and you try and do the best with it that you can. Where it feels very similar to when you're watching The Mole, right? You don't know who the mole actually is, but you're always looking to see who is, looking suspicious, who might be it. So that might just be something we have to get used to now with Big Brother Canada, because it is a little bit fun. Do I wish we had the feeds? Absolutely. But maybe this can be a way we can learn to enjoy Big Brother Canada still, even though we don't have full feeds. Hey, when we have BBUS, we get that old school way of enjoying Big Brother where we have all the information. We can look at the whole board and see where different moves are going to happen. And then with Big Brother Canada, it will end up being an experience that's more akin to being in the house, what it feels like more, and kind of puts you into that mindset of trying to figure out with limited information what's going on. So yeah, it's been interesting. Again, I wish we had feeds, but it is what it is. Dan as HOH though, he's not 100% sure what he wants to do. He did want to go for floaters or big targets. Like, what does he want to do? He originally had the idea that he would go for floaters, right? Because that keeps all the big targets in the game, but maybe he doesn't want to do that anymore. Then eventually we get to the Wendy's breakfast date, and oh boy, the guy they chose for the Wendy's window, the former house guest, ends up being Chris from BBCan11. The man who didn't even recognize his own mother. He is the one who is the representative of past house guest to give advice to Dan as he gets his food. Now, I did have my sources reach out to me. I already know who the next person to be in the Wendy's window for week 3 will be. Are you ready for this? Because Ori Spoils is about to drop a bombshell on you. It is going to be Spicy V. Spicy V will be in the Wendy's window for week 3. My sources have laid it out for me. I'm telling you right now, if it happens, you know who told you it first. You know who told you it first. But we do get the Wendy's breakfast with Dan, and he brings Zach along with him. And Zach here uses this time to use the old gummy bear trick. He lays out the gummy bears, kind of shows Dan, like, hey, here's where numbers are. Like, who do you think are like definitely with you? Who's not? Where you think people are? And they kind of are breaking it down. Also, he can take this one little gummy bear and say, this is Rob, and he is your biggest threat. And he kind of pitches that backdoor idea to, hey, this is what we should do. We got some more conversations with Dan and some of the potential nominees. We saw him talking to Hope, who started to get some cold feet, doesn't necessarily want to go on the block anymore. He was kind of talked down by Renee and Hope, or not Hope, he is Hope. Jonathan, even Rob were kind of telling him, like, listen, are you sure you want to do this? Like, maybe you don't. So he was starting to get cold feet about going on the block. We also saw him meeting with Renee. And Dan kind of says, like, hey, just because she was on the block last week doesn't mean that she is getting a free pass this one. Especially because they were both on the block. They haven't really talked game. It ends up being Renee and Hope who are put on the block. But again, it does seem like that backdoor plan is still in place for Rob. And that's kind of where we're going with it. Now, again, if you haven't seen the digital dailies, I highly recommend you check out the video. It should be one of the end cards that will be coming up at the end of this video. It's on my channel. Definitely go check it out because it was a good one and it gave us a lot more information. It was all post-veto, so we know who the new nominees are and everything like that, and where the votes are going to be going, because it is looking like this is going to be a fun week. I think we've got 2 more episodes here that are going to end up being kind of a fun journey. We've got the episode tonight, which will be the veto competition plus the replacement nominee, and then Thursday will be the eviction. It's going to be a fun one. Hopefully we get some digital dailies today and tomorrow. We'll have recaps of those on the channels as soon as I can get them up. So keep an eye out for those. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below. What did you think of this episode? What did you think of how fair that HOH competition was? What did you think of Chris from BBCan11 coming back? Would you recognize your own mom in the Wendy's window? Let me know in those comments down below. What do you think of this plan to backdoor Rob? Would you like to see that happen? Would you rather Rob stay and be able to compete against Zach and Ty? Let me know all of those things down in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you are new here though, hit that subscribe button. You like this video? Hit that like button. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, smash that like button and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, you never miss a stream. Links to my Twitch, my Twitter, my Discord are in the description down below and a pinned comment, so you can find all that information. Follow what you want, ignore what you want. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.